Welcome back to EWTN News In Depth. We continue our discussion about immigration with Bishop Mark Seitz. Bishop Seitz works on this issue every single day as the Bishop of El Paso, Texas, on the Mexican border, and as the migration chair for the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Bishop, it's so great to have you here. You've studied this issue. You're an expert. What leadership responsibility or advocacy role do you think the Catholic Church should be taking to ease tensions over the immigration crisis? Or are we just here for humanitarian assistance only to embrace the stranger?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me this morning. You know, we always go from a base, which is the gospel of Jesus, and all that the church teaches, which is an elaboration, you might say, of that teaching based upon the gospel. The entire social justice doctrine, if you will, of the church, which goes through everything that we believe about the life issues, the life of the unborn, to the life of vulnerable people, is all laid out beautifully there. We have a great blessing in that teaching. And there's no way to do it that's simply focused on what happens inside a church building or even, simply feeding someone. We have to be part of the conversation in this world and in a certain way be the conscience of those who are leaders of our country, to call them back to these basic principles. It's not the church's job to write legislation or something like that, but we do have a responsibility to point out the fundamental teachings of Christ as they apply to the present situation.
The church definitely is supposed to be the conscience of the state, but this is such a divisive issue. There's pushback to accepting immigrants even in sanctuary cities now. Let's listen to what New York City Mayor Eric Adams said at a town hall meeting this week.
We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. 110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City.
What do you and the bishop say to those critics who say the U.S. must have enforceable laws to protect the border and limit the number of migrants who can enter?
Well, we certainly have a respect for the right of every nation to regulate crossing at the border. But that regulation shouldn't be to the point that people who are desperate have no place to turn, no place to go. This situation that we're facing right now is not really like that of past years, the 80s, 90s, when people were coming primarily to be able to work. The people that we're encountering now, very often they're families, and very often they're people who were forced from their homes by the dictatorship in which they live, or by the lack of a government where they live, that leaves it open to organized crime. So we have to have some kind of response that doesn't just say, well, go die somewhere else. We have to help. And one of the problems we're seeing right now is that a rather small number of cities is being challenged by the fact that people are being shipped there deliberately to overwhelm their resources. I think that's fair enough to say. Without even coordinating, working with the organizations, the NGOs and the like that are there. So we could do so much better. And there are so many places in our country that could really benefit from the presence of immigrants, but we're not really working to coordinate this response.
One of those ways that the response could be coordinated is something Mayor Adams is an advocate for, which are temporary work permits to ease the economic burden. Is this something that the bishops would support?
Well, you'll hear us bishops speak very often about a broken immigration system, and that it very clearly is. It is so complex, so labyrinthine that we really just immigrants lose on every turn. And one of the problems is that we let them come now, those who have a case to make for asylum, which is part of international law and U.S. law. But we say, sorry, folks, you need to just kind of sit on your heels for a year because we're not going to give you a work permit. So what are they supposed to do? I've never seen a group of people more willing to work, and I've never seen a situation in our country where there are so many open jobs, but we're not letting them work legally. So we create many of the problems that the mayor was referring to.
This is true. Now, Bishop Seitz, you met with President Biden, who's being criticized by his own party right now, and urged him to consider the plight of the migrant when he changed asylum policies and turned away thousands of migrants. The president is currently under fire over this issue still. What would you suggest that he do?
Well, I think that there are a number of responses, and one of the very most important ones is that we work with the sending countries, the places that are seeing migrants depart. We could help. We could do so much more. When you just think about the billions of dollars we're spending already on the border, it's like more than $20 billion. Think about what we could do if that was delivered in a way that allowed countries to have to develop a better economy, a just system, a way that people could work in safety and security in their home country. That's a right of a person, too, not to be forced from their homes, which is what's taking place now. We need more focus on the situation in the sending countries.
To help people remain in their countries. Really, really quick, do you plan to meet with him again soon?
Well, it's not the sort of thing that I can just call him up and ask for an appointment. But I'd be certainly happy to meet with him, as would our conference, to talk about these issues. We would be happy to work with anyone on any side of the aisle about ways that aren't just using these issues as political ping pong balls, but rather what are real solutions that we can begin to seek working together. That's what we need.
Well, we're grateful for your work and your advocacy. Thank you so much, Bishop Seitz.
You're welcome. God bless you.